Okay, so a very good evening to all of you. A very good evening to the panelists here. We have four amazing career counselors, very experienced career counselors from across India to discuss UC personal insight questions. For all of you who are joining us for the first time, thank you for joining. This session is about how to approach the 8 UC, that's University of California, personal insight questions. This is the fourth session of day 2, and we have just one more session going on after this one. And it's been a great day so far, and I'm sure this session is going to be an amazing one as well. A little bit introduction of what UCs are and what UC personal insight questions mean. So all of you who are applying to the US, most of you, you know that there is a common app application portal, which is common to a lot of universities in the US, and then you can apply to majority of the universities in the US that Indian students consider through the common app portal. But UCs, that is UCLA, UC Berkeley, UC San Diego, UC Santa Cruz, all these UCs have a different application portal. It's called the UC application portal. And under the UC application portal, there are 8 PIQs, or the personal insight questions, that you need to answer. You don't need to answer all 8 of them, but you need to answer 4. You need to select 4 out of those 8 personal insight questions. And in this session, we are going to discuss how to approach these 8 questions, and then going forward, you can think about which 4 questions you want to select and which 4 questions do you want to write about. Right. So before we get going, let me briefly introduce all our esteemed panelists here. We have Sudarshana Shukla, ma'am. She has been a faculty member at the Cathedral John Connon School in Mumbai, and since 2002, and she has been a full-time guidance counselor since 2004, where she has guided students for overseas application to the US, UK, Canada, Netherlands, Singapore, Australia, Hong Kong, and India. Her school offers APs. She is also the coordinator for AP and the SAT at Cathedral. Very highly experienced counselor, and it's a privilege to have you here today, ma'am.
Thank you.
We also have Ms. Rachna Grewal. She is, as an educator, she has worked with Vasant Valley School, which is a leading school in Delhi, for 8 years. And then she transitioned into a role of independent education and admissions consultant, where she now guides students to prepare for their college application. And again, she has years of experience in helping students apply to a lot of countries, including US, UK, Canada, Australia, and India. Again, it's great to have you here, Rachna, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Shivangi Panchal, ma'am. Shivangi Panchal, ma'am, is experienced executive director of administration with a demonstrated history of working in primary, secondary education industry. She's a certified UCLA career counselor, has supported over 500 undergraduate students for their higher education applications in various universities abroad. She has expertise in putting and developing systems and processes for smooth administration. It's a pleasure to have you here, Shivangi, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, and for giving me the opportunity as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. And last but not the least, we have Teji, Varghese, ma'am. She is the academic guidance counselor for the national curriculum, that is ICSE and ISC programs at Jamnabai Narsee School since 2013. More than 15 years of experience in education. She is passionate to work with, she has a passion to work with middle year and higher secondary school students, where she guides them to right fit universities. Eventually, she helps them to strengthen their skills based on framework through the middle school, and help them across the years for their college application. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us today. And with that, we are ready to start off the session. So how we'll go ahead with this is, there are 8 personal insight questions, and I'll put forward one question to all of you, and to each one of you individually, and then move on to the next question. So my first question is to Sudarshana ma'am. Ma'am, this is personal insight question number 6, which goes like this. Think about an academic subject that inspires you. Describe how you have furthered this interest inside or outside of classroom.
Sure. Thank you, Devesh. Thank you very much to Next Genius for having all 4 of us. We are colleagues. 3 of them I know, 2 of them I know quite closely. I'm looking forward to getting to know Rachna. So without much ado, taking it forward from what you said, Devesh, just, since I am the first speaker, I thought I'll address a couple of general pointers so that the students are aware that out of the 4 insight questions that they attempt, from a choice of 8, each insight question response is 350 words or less. And like Devesh said, they are personal insight questions. And so the stress is more on personal. And which question you choose is not really very important. But what is important is that you choose something that is relevant to your experience and that best fits your individual circumstances. The most important thing is expressing who you are, what matters to you, and what you want to share with the UCs. There are 9 UCs under this application, Common University of California application system. And you can share your background, personality, interests, achievements in your unique voice. Remember that these are personal insight questions about the student. And it's not an English essay where you need to, go all over town writing about other things. Focus on what the question asks and then answer the question directly. Admissions officers want to learn about the student, what they did and why they did what they did, what the student learned and how the student applied what they learned in their aspects of daily life as they went on. Students should use I statements. I did this and I chose to do that. I learned about. It's an opportunity to ensure that we get to know them. Now I'll just dive straight into question number 6 since Devesh has already read it out. I'm not repeating it. But some of the things that you might want to consider when you are approaching this is which academic subject inspires you. Many students have a passion for one specific academic subject area. Something that they just can't get enough of. If that applies to you and what you've done to further your interest in that is something that you should be talking about in the essay. Discuss how your interest in the subject developed. Describe any experience that you've had, whether it's inside or outside of the classroom, such as voluntary work, internships, employment, summer programs, participation in school organizations or clubs, and what you gained out of that involvement. This is slightly similar. All 4 insight question responses are slightly also similar to the personal statement that you write on UCAS for UK, because they're very specific to demonstrating the subject area of interest in subject and what you did to enhance that. How the subject influenced you in choosing a major or a future career. How have you been able to pursue coursework at a higher level in this subject, such as an honors program or an AP program or an IB course that you took in school at a higher level, college and university, pre-university work that you may have done, and what inspired you to pursue this subject, and how are you going to pursue it further at UC is something that you need to also demonstrate. Think about all the classes that you've taken at school and then fill in the blanks. So I'll go to such and such a class, for instance, neuroscience, physics, biology, ESS, even if you didn't have to. So, I often tell my students, if you go to the library and want to pick up a book on a voluntary basis without a teacher telling you what to do, which subject draws you towards, which book would you like to pick and read? And that would be the subject area that draws you towards it. It doesn't have to be a class in which you earned good grades. The important thing is that you enjoyed the subject and it impacted you in some way. And I'm going to leave you with an example of what this means. We had a student who was very keen on physics, And she participated in a Khan Academy video contest, which was a 4-minute video that needed to be submitted. She just found it on social media and submitted a 4-minute video on a physics concept that she had struggled with in grade 9. And she explained it beautifully, and she made it multilingual. So, it wasn't only for, English speaking students, or it was for anyone. And actually, she was awarded a prize by Khan Academy for her crisp, 4-minute video, which explained the particular concept or principle she was trying to demonstrate. So writing something about that would be a fantastic way to lead this essay. Maybe there's a course that you've taken in school that you wish to, that you'd like to take, or looking forward to taking in college. For instance, even if it's not part of your core subjects in school, and you want to explore a subject over and above the curriculum that you're pursuing, such as AP Human Geography or US History or Art History, just to explore and be curious about a subject, you can write about that as well. And I also have a sample essay, which later on we do have time. It's just 350 words. I can share my screen with you, and I have sample essays for both my topics. So I'll share that with you at a later date, or I can just share it with Next Genius and they can share it with you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you so much. That's an amazing piece of advice. And also thanks for sharing that anecdote about the student and how she wrote about interest in physics. Superb. So moving on to the second question, my second question is to Rachna ma'am. Rachna ma'am, this is PIQ, that's personal insight question number 2, which goes like this. Every person has a creative side, and it can be expressed in many ways, like problem solving, original and innovative thinking, and artistically. Name a few. Describe how you express your creative side.
Thank you so much, Devesh. So many students, when looking at this PIQ, look at the literal meaning of creative. While this prompt can address your artistic talents, there is prompt number 3, which allows you to talk about your talents and how you've developed them over time. When considering this prompt, one should go beyond the literal translation of creativity. Creativity can be demonstrated by the ability to perceive the world in new ways, to find hidden patterns, to make connections between things which may appear to be unrelated, and then to come up with a solution. What the admissions officers are looking for in this prompt is how you combine 2 processes of thinking, and then what do you produce out of that? While responding to this prompt, I would suggest that you address your ability to seek solutions across disciplines, how you apply knowledge laterally, and show uncommon connections. When considering your essay structure, you could possibly use the following. Identify a need, whether it's a personal need or a need on a community level. Talk about how that need came to your attention. How did you identify it? What were the steps that you took to seek the solutions? Were there any challenges that you faced here? And how did you apply knowledge from different areas, different experiences that you had to find a solution? You can also talk about the impact. How did it impact you, or how did it impact the community whose need you were addressing, and what your future plans are with that? One of my students had worked on this prompt, and she had taken design technology as one of her subjects. And what she did was she saw a need for people suffering from arthritis. They could not lift up a spoon easily. So she worked on developing a spoon that had ergonomic features, which fulfilled a need for these arthritic patients. And how she applied, how she recognized that a popsicle, an ice cream, the stick in an ice cream popsicle could be used by these arthritic patients because it's lightweight and it can be easily, it does not require too much strength, was an application of lateral knowledge. So that would be my piece of advice when addressing this question. Thank you.
Wow, that's superb. That's really creative way of thinking. Wonderful. Moving on to the third question. This is for Shivangi ma'am. The question goes like this. This is the personal insight question number 1, which says, describe an example of your leadership experience in which you have positively influenced others and helped others resolve disputes or contributed to group efforts over time.
Okay, so thank you very much, Next Genius, for having me here. And there are some things that I would want students to consider about leadership, especially in these times of pandemic when you haven't had the chance to really do something in school. So when they talk about leadership, it need not just be related to school. It could be a mentor. You could be doing something for the family, for the community. Somewhere you have to show that you have got in and taken charge and got the bull by the horns. So how have you, so what they would like to see here, I would say, is they want to see maturity, and they want to see how you handle situations. They want to see how the situation was before and how you could make the change, whether you panic or not. So being a mentor and how you were solved the problem is a great way to address this question. One of the things I would like to add here is that if you don't know where to start, for example, you have to just think of what are the things that a leader has, what are the qualities, and put them down, and then put your qualities against it, and then try to make it like a story and try to match them, and expand on it, and then build the story. But like Sudarshana ma'am said, it's 350 words, so maybe 100 words could be about the problem and how the situation was before you stepped in, and another 250 words on how you solved it and how the journey was and what happened hence, and the reflection on it. So that's the way this could be addressed, is what I think. And there are, I mean, things that the UCs are looking for. Basically, all the questions, they are looking for something about you and some qualities, personal qualities about you. So I think it need not be school related, and I'm sure most of them won't have too many school related. But here again, also I'd like to give an example of one of my students who did this last year. He was going for computer science and had hosted the TEDx earlier and was the chairperson of the MUN and all that, but nothing happened last year. So he wanted computer science. So he built an app for the Blind People's Association, and then how he there was a problem there, and there was a coding issues, and then he went in as a he said, I'll solve it all, and address the management. So even transgenerational and multi-generational people, how to address, how to work with them was something that he learned. And then eventually they come out with that app, and it's all over the country now. So, and he's got into Wharton. So.
Wow, that's superb. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Wonderful. So with that, let me move to the fourth question here. This is for Teji ma'am. This is PIQ number 4, and it goes like this. Describe how you have taken advantage of a significant educational opportunity or worked to overcome an educational barrier you have faced.
Thank you so much, Devesh, for this. Now, when we take up this question, there are two parts to it. One is about your educational opportunity. Another is about your barrier. It's not necessary that you have to write about both of them. I would prefer like how you would go about is to speak about your educational opportunity. Ideally, this question is about your experience, how you added value to your education and better prepared you to college experience. So they will ask you, like, especially during the COVID times, like I'll start with an example of the student who was last year. He took up an experiential experiment when before the school closed. It was on computational chemistry. It was a lot of experiments between the computer science and the chemistry lab. And when the lockdown happened, he could not do it. So what he did was actually connected with both the teachers of chemistry and with the computer science. He had the online, and he actually created a chemistry lab at his home. And he worked through the hurdles of how it was, because when you are in school, your teachers are helping you, but when you are at home, it is all about you. So I would say start with an interesting experience to academics. Don't become broad based. Like many of the students, what they do is they start with the subject liking. It's not about the subject liking. It's more about how you are. You have to start with a topic of interest in that subject. How did it interest you? What did you learn from it? And what are your plans once you go to the college? So if that field really interests you, trust me, that essay will come out. Since you only have 350 words, you can't use flamboyancy. So you have to be very particular about that topic. What did it engage you in? You can talk about a research paper that you did and how was it working with, like right now, many of the students are working online with the research professors. And how did it make you make you fall in love with their subject? How did you go beyond the subject interest or the curriculum to have, you do something, apply that education? You can talk about something of like school online, like how Sudarshana ma'am said, like Khan Academy participation. You can speak about any competition or participation in honors or academic enrichment program that you participated in. You don't need to start, I did something with ISC chemistry or AP chemistry and I really love the experiments. You need to speak about one specific experiment that you liked actually. So that is the best way is to think about it is in two parts. I usually divide the opportunities again into two parts. I tell them to start with thinking about something specific that happened in your subject and start your essay with what interested you in that specific topic or an experience or an experiment. Describe your journey for it. So it's a reverse pyramid where you're starting with a narrow of one experience and then you're going into what you learned from that experience. End up sharing actually how you became, like how are you going to use it in your college and your future career goals. Now the second part is the educational barriers. This is something which I tell children to be very wary about, because it's something to do with, sometimes children write about the weakness in their subject math. Like there are very cliche topics. I was weak in my math subject. How did I overcome? Or I moved from ICSE to IB. What were the challenges? So sometimes it tends to become very generic. Try to avoid them. It would be ideal if you are someone who has shifted cities and then you are shifting curriculums and then you have overcome those specific subject or the style of learning. Or you can also speak about during COVID times, we all went through, last year was a place where we researched and learned new things. So what you can do is actually, how did your learning methodology change? Rather than depending on a school or on the school or the teacher to tell you what to do, how did you go beyond your comfort zone to learn about the program? And that is something which we say. Another thing I do advise students is go on to the UC site. They have given for every PIQ, they have given you hints. They give you like what are, like for this barrier, they have said, how can you overcome? For educational opportunity, they have given three questions. List any programs or additional classes that are better prepared you for college. How did you find out about these programs or classes? How did you take what you learned and apply it to your schoolwork or aspects of life? So do ensure that you are researching the UC site and going onto their PDF. There is a PDF file for it and keep it as your Bible. Like it's literally something which you should be having with you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for such an amazing piece of advice. And the link for the UC questionnaire, I've just posted that in the chat. So you can just, all the students, you can just click that link and see what all the questions are. Yes, that's an amazing advice, that be very specific. Don't talk about general stuff. Be specific to the question that is being asked. Be specific about your educational experiences or opportunities that you want to discuss. Okay, so I am just seeing my time, and we are moving right on time. It's 7:24 right now. We have 16 more minutes, and we have 4 more questions to discuss. So I'll move on to Sudarshana ma'am once again. And ma'am, this is personal insight question number 7, which is like this: what have you done to make your school, a community, a better place? How to approach this question? Ma'am, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Thank you. I have just posted the link that Teji talked about just now in the chat. So you will have access to the PDF, and quite a few of our notes are from there. So you'll see what we're talking about also. So I think for all the participants attending today, I think it'd be great if you can focus on the examples rather than what we're talking about, because some of it you will find on the UC website. So thank you for that, Devesh. And some of the things that you need to consider about what you've done to make your school or your community a better place is the term community is very relative, right? It can encompass a group, a team, or a place, such as your high school or your hometown or even your home, or the society where you live. You can define the community as you see fit. Just make sure that you talk about your role in that community. What was the problem that you tackled, and how did you attempt to better or fix that problem in your community? What inspired you to take this on? Now, here I'm just going to stop a little bit, because as I was reading this, I thought about this. For the life of me, I can't remember the name of the movie, but there's a Hindi movie on fundamental rights of human beings and addressed voting and all of that. I can't remember what it was, but it was an amazing movie. And in that, there was one specific scene that actually haunts me even today. And that was this man who was wearing barely no clothes, actually literally minimal clothes. And he goes into an open manhole to clean up the dirt in the gutters. And he comes out completely doused in it. And, we were talking about it during one of my classes with the students. And this actually inspired one of our students to create a kind of a robot, which was sent to the municipal commissioner for approval. It did meet, the pilot project did meet an approval, where you actually send a robot down to do the job and not a human being who can come out infested with 1,001 bacteria. And it's life-threatening, So these are small things which you see, and they make an impact on you. And then what did you do to change that? What did you attempt? Whether it worked or not is one thing, but at least you made an attempt to better the situation. What did you learn from the effort? Whether it was a success or a failure, what were the steps and what did you learn from it? How did your actions benefit others in the wider community, or both you and the wider community? Did you work alone, or did you work as a team with others? And did you mentor some juniors to kind of add their voice? Maybe you are a analytical, logical mind, and then you have a colleague who is a creative person. And then if the two of you partner, you're going to be able to come out with a much better solution than working alone. So working as a team and how it impacted both the partners and the community on the long run. Some of the examples of community impact could be filming a school sport even. It doesn't have to be a path-breaking thing. It could be something small that you did. As long as the outcome on your personality was accountable, sizable. Advocating for workers' rights, spreading awareness about disaster preparedness. Imagine that cyclone just happened a few days ago, right, in our city, and none of us were prepared. And, it was, for me, I live by the sea. And I was, for 48 hours, I didn't sleep because we had no means of managing this kind of wind velocity. So preparing for fires, cyclones, earthquakes, how would you, create awareness among the community, teaching kids more about STEM topics. And this again, we had a student who spread awareness through the Interact Club in the community of the schools of the underprivileged students that they were engaged with. And not only did she spread awareness, but she even brought in multilingual speakers and scientists who had addressed them in our class and had them talk to these youngsters to inspire them to pursue STEM. You can also start a recycling program by starting a poster campaign on awareness of how not to waste food, for instance, in your canteen. And you could make this a week-long campaign and follow it up with some active action and see whether it made a difference, whether you need to tweak your approach or not. Creating video lessons for differently able students. This again, my students have done for, as a math teacher, my students have done this to help my special needs children on various topics in the 8th, 9th and 10th grade in making things easier for them. Creating an app, so many things. There are so many examples. And like most of my colleagues have already said, what did you do? What are the problems you solved? And what are the lessons learned or the skills gained out of that problem? So the latter part is most important, that you bring out in that 350-word essay. That what did you learn? Did you consider the impact that it had on your family, friends, or school? Who else benefited from it? What impact did it have on you as a person? Did it change your life or your perspective to life or a perspective to a particular event? And what are the skills you developed along the way? So did you become a better debater? Did you become a better tutor? Did you become a better advocate or a volunteer or a programmer, depending on what you were engaged with? What did you do to take what you learned to the next level? And what surprised you about this experience? So, if you just focus on answering these multiple questions, your 350 words are done and you have a solid piece to present. So, yeah, I'm going to stop right there and thank you so much. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. I've already been answering them in the Q&A. So.
Superb, superb. Thank you so much, ma'am. Fantastic piece of advice. Of course, there are some questions coming in the Q&A, and feel free to answer those as you the questions that you find relevant. Okay, so moving on to my next question. That this is a personal insight question number 5. This is for Rachna, ma'am. Question goes like this: describe the most significant challenge you have faced and the steps you have taken to overcome this challenge. How has this challenge affected your academic achievement? So how to approach this PIQ?
All of these PIQs are giving information to the admissions officers so that they can do a comprehensive review. While they're looking at your grades, they're looking at your leadership opportunities. They want to know how you've contributed to the community. They also want to know how, if there have been any life circumstances that have impacted your ability to learn. Of course, COVID is a big one, but remember, all over the world, students have not been able to go to school and they've been learning online. So is that a challenge that's unique to you? If it's not a challenge that's unique to you, it may not be the best way to answer this question. While the admissions officers want to hear about the challenges, they don't want to hear a sob story. They want to hear about how you have grown through the challenge that you have faced. How do you deal with the roadblocks that have come in your way? It's an opportunity for you to demonstrate your resilience and your ability to persevere. Through this essay, you can talk about the qualities that you've developed while addressing the challenging situation, allude to how these qualities will add value to your college community, how you will make the community more vibrant through these qualities. Reflect on how they'll help you succeed in the career path that you hope to pursue. As Sudarshana ma'am and Shivangi ma'am and Teji ma'am have mentioned, the essay is 350 words only. If you have a structure in mind, if you divide the essay into thirds, and in your first third, again, talk about the problem. Was it a micro problem? Was it personal? Or was it a macro problem? Was it more at a more community level? In the second third, on the main body of the essay, raise the stakes and talk about why was it important for you to address the problem. If you didn't address the problem, what would have happened? How did you want to change the status quo? There's an existing situation. How did you want to change it and create a new situation? And what was the new situation that you were hoping to achieve? Did you address this challenge at an individual level, or were you part of a team? And in the concluding paragraph, what was the impact of your actions. And I think this is similar to all of the PIQ questions. They want to know what was the impact, how did it affect your personal growth, how did you go from point A to point B? If the challenge was more personal and not so much at a community level, how did you feel about it? What were your needs that were being impacted, and what steps did you take to fulfill those needs? Again, what was the learning? I think that's my input for that question.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for breaking it down so nicely. For the students, it needs to be broken. The essay can be broken down into 3 parts, then how you can approach the 3 sort of parts in a very systematic manner. That's wonderful. Okay, so that brings me to my second last question. That's for Shivangi ma'am. The question is personal insight question number 3, which is, what would you say is your greatest talent or skill? How have you developed and demonstrated that talent over time? How should this question be approached, ma'am? You'll have to unmute yourself.
So again, I feel that this question is something that is going to be slightly different this year. But yes, talent is and skill is something that is there. Something is there in each child. So you just have to dig out that talent and dig out that skill and find out what it is. You know, you can probably just make those lists, like I believe a lot in lists and putting things down first and then, you know, crisscrossing them and trying to make a story out of it. Because here in Ahmedabad, where I am, there are very few opportunities. But of course, for us, the sports is a big thing. So, you know, it could be sports, but since sports is not happening now, it could be cooking, it could be any skill that you have. So, you know, what were these skills? How did you develop them? What changed? What were you able to improve? You know, so what was the kind of impact? You have to talk about something that brings a smile to your face. Basically, it should not be something, it's like you're kind of marketing yourself, and you know, the admission officers are not looking for that, are looking for that one thing probably that you have on that CV that you want to brag about. So I think that's the way to go about it. And don't list things down, you know, that I did this. It's just one of those things. You need to expand it and you know, write it in a story, write your narrative. How were you before that? How you discovered it? How you enhanced it? And now where you are. It has to be like an accomplishment, and then give the background of that skill. So if it is something that they don't understand, or something that you know is very common but is not common, then write something about it. So because it's not something that might take all the 350 words, so write something about that talent or that skill that you have developed, so that they have an idea of what you're talking about. You know, it could be Ayurveda, or it could be something that you're interested in because of COVID. It could be your interest in you know, herbal medicines, and you talk about ashwagandha. Now probably they don't know that or not heard of it, then just write a few lines on it. So keep that connection, make it a story, and connect the dots and make it. It's like Sudarshana ma'am said, it's all about writing with the eye. So yeah, brag about it.
Perfect. That's really amazing. Okay, so now we are all set for the final question for the day, which is question number 8, personal insight question number 8 for Teji ma'am. The question is like this: beyond what has already been shared in your application, what do you believe makes you stand out as a strong candidate for admissions to the UCs? Ma'am, you'll have to unmute yourself.
So you have heard Ms. Sudarshana, Ms. Rachna, Ms. Shivangi speaking about what has to be spoken about in the first 7 prompts. So you have to, what I believe is the prompt number 8 is the most open prompt. If there were some things which you have not mentioned in your 3 prompts, this is where you can describe about yourself. It's something where you don't have the place, like it's just 350 words and you could not describe yourself in those 3 essays. This is your prompt, because here you can write about what you would like the UCs to know. Is it, is it whether it's a skill or a challenge you overcame, or a talent or an opportunity that you think. So I had a student who wrote this prompt about how she was bullied earlier, and when she joined ISC, how she ensured that she joined the Jamnabai Adolescent Mentor. Now, 2 years have been online, and she actually spoke about there how she tried to work on the cyberbullying or the online bullying happening, and she created a club where she spoke about this, and it was for the school children itself. Any child anonymously could write about it. So rather than focusing about her bullying, she made it an open forum where she could speak to these children. She created a team where they could speak to all the children who were going through certain cyber or online bullying, or they were not able to handle certain peer pressures. So this is not a story about creating like, oh, I was bullied. But if you were bullied, what did you do beyond that? How did you work with the community? So this is where you can get creative with your writing. I feel this is not the best prompt for academic achievement or community service. You already have many prompts for that. What you should be doing is ideally check all the prompts, select your 3 prompts, write them down. And once you have decided, okay, look, there is something more to be written, but I can't write in any of the other topics, this is your open prompt. You can get as creative in those 350 words. I had a student who actually did the TED online, and it was like AWS, that's the MUN online. And he spoke about how he used the computer technology he learned in school and online with the online courses, and how that AWS became successful. So anything you can brag about, but with humility. Don't be arrogant. That's one thing we say. Like, you can think of a time where, or experience that made you do something or helped you stand out. This is a prompt which makes you stand out, and UCs come to know, why do you want to be in any of the 9 UCs? Do you think yourself fitting into one? Like, if you're passionate about anything, whether it's an entrepreneurship or whether it's biosciences, this is one of the open-ended prompt. It can be also a story that changed your life, but be specific. There are a lot of things you can write here. It's about sports, online internship. But I would say brainstorm a specific moment. Don't become generic. Don't write only about internship. Write about an experience. That's one thing. And don't be flowery. Don't write 350 words means there is no room for exaggeration. Don't try to pad your accomplishments. Don't try to fit all your accomplishments together. That's also one of the mistakes that happen is, oh, I could not write all my accomplishments in my 3 UC essays, so why not write here? That's not how it is. It's just one event that left an impression, that should leave an impression on the UC reader. Whoever is reading it says, wow, I need this student to be in my campus. That's it. Thank you.
Wow, super, fantastic. Really, really enjoyed hearing that. So we are almost coming to the end of the session now. And before we close, I would just request all of you to just share any final piece of advice to the students who are applying to colleges this year, who all have mentored and guided and counseled hundreds of students over the past so many years. So what is the one learning that these students should take back as far as the college applications are concerned? Sudarshana ma'am, maybe we can start with you.
My one piece of advice to every student who is thinking of applying abroad is start early. Give yourself plenty of time for preparation. Please do not wait for the application to open up and then delve on what you need to do. Work carefully on your timelines, share it with by your school counselor, and follow them without being pushed to. Careful composition of any essay and revision is so important. So you need to write persuasively. You need to proofread and edit. When you copy paste, I think this is one mistake I've seen in a lot of applications. When you copy paste and don't review it after copy pasting it, oftentimes there are odd characters or line breaks that don't appear when you copy paste it. So please make sure you review your essays after copy pasting it, and the UC system actually logs you out after 30 minutes. And so just make sure you have all your pieces on a Word document ready and you're able to copy paste it promptly, save it as you go on, and you can reopen it after 30 minutes and reattempt it. Relax, it's not a difficult process if you stay on top of it and follow the timeline shared by your school counselors, and wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing that very practical advice with the students. Rachna, ma'am, what would be your advice?
So my advice is, and this is something that I see a lot of, all the students are talking about what other kids are doing. Don't worry about what others are doing. Worry about what you're doing. Your stripes are your own. Okay. If you look at a zebra, if you look at multiple zebras, they all have stripes, but each zebra stripe is different. And that's how you can recognize one zebra or differentiate one zebra from another. So show your unique stripes. What is your passion? What is your voice? What rocks your boat? Okay. Don't worry about what others are doing. I think that will make a genuine application, and that's what admissions officers are really looking for.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Being authentic, I think that is one advice that we have heard, and that has been a theme over the last couple of days. Be yourself. Yeah, you're unique. Wonderful. Moving on to Shivangi, ma'am. What's your final piece of advice to these students?
Yes, I totally resonate with what Sudarshana ma'am and Rachna had said so far. And I strongly believe that you need to have your authenticity and don't plagiarize. Another thing that you have seen is you pick up the essays of the previous batch and your seniors and say, 3 years ago they had written this, so who's going to remember about it? But don't do that, because they do. And somewhere they are like we know that we are reading this, we've read this somewhere. So it's not yours, you have to put your own voice. There are lots of essay writers available, but what is said in your voice, it has to be age appropriate. All those things don't happen. So please, yes, it is good to get feedback. You can ask your teachers and ask your or seniors or relatives. Everybody has somebody abroad, so you can move the piece of paper around, but basically keep it yours.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Shivangi ma'am. And finally, moving on to Teji ma'am.
I will say it's not a common app essay. Don't try to become emotional in it. It's professional. I will say use a tutor language. Think about it that you are writing in pointers. There is nothing and like how Ms. Shivangi said, you can't copy, like you have UC books coming in and everyone thinks, okay, look, I can put in like this. No, but it's not your experience. Yes, the instances can be very similar, but experiences are unique. The activities can be similar, but your experience is unique. And that is where they see the UC readers try to connect. Are you really going to fit in? So not every shoe fits everywhere. And I would say you are you. Try to make pointers, start early, like Sudarshana has said. It's very important that you have to start early, make pointers. For every essay, you have to make pointers. And one litmus test I say is, if you have to think hard and you don't have words to write in those topics, don't even think about it. But if the words are flowing and you have to edit, try to work on that. That's your essay. That's your passion, which is coming in.
Superb. That's really amazing. I think we could have had another half an hour or so to discuss so much that you had to share. There is so much knowledge and wisdom, and 45 minutes can't do justice to what all wisdom is to be shared. But as all good things must come to an end, I think this is about time that we pass on and we start on the next session. There is still one more session that all you students can benefit from. That's about classic essay mistakes, which will start at 8 p.m. Before moving on to that session, let me quickly go on and share 2 resources that are available for our students and the resources that you can benefit from. Just go and share my screen now. Resource number 1 is called, it's our Instagram account where we have a campaign running, which is called as Ask Us Anything. Under Ask Us Anything, we have, you can send questions to us, questions that are related to admissions or career and college guidance, and we'll have counselors, experienced counselors two of these counselors are here. Shivangi ma'am and Rachna ma'am have been answering a lot of questions for us over the past few weeks. So you can send us questions, and we'll share it with these experienced counselors, and they would help you with your doubts and queries. And resource number 2 is this essays book. We have collected essays, a lot of essays over the past few years, and students can take inspiration from these essays and get access to this book, which is available on our website. So just benefit from these resources. The links of these are provided in the chat. With that, I would like to thank all of you, all the panelists who have joined us today. It was such a fantastic session, and I think if we have had more time, I think we would have asked, answered some more questions that were there in the chat box. But I'm sure this was something which all the students benefited from, and this session is also going to be live on YouTube, so it'll continue to be a resource for all the students in the years to come. Thank you, Sudarshana ma'am, Rachna ma'am, Teji ma'am, and Shivangi ma'am for joining us today this evening for Next Genius Webinars UCSA session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Devesh. Thank you, everyone.